Hi everyone, welcome to HYVA. My name is Owen Magabinao, and I'm excited today because I found a book that I found was very interesting, and I feel the whole concept. I want to introduce it to the my community, and it's titled the New Small: How a New Breed of Small Businesses are Harnessing the Power and Emerging Technologies. And I have the author today on the call is Phil Simon, and I wanted him to take the time to explain to us what exactly the book is all about and what the idea behind the new small. So Phil, I'd love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the community, and we get started.
Sure, Owen. Thank you for having me on. I enjoy it. My name is Phil Simon, and I'm a technology speaker, writer, and consultant.
And you, in your bio, you said that what you do is that you basically focus on having an intersection between people, management, and technology. And I was wondering, please explain what that is.
Sure, but technology doesn't implement itself, right? This isn't the Terminator. It's all about people and organizations, how they make decisions. Are they the right decisions?
Yeah.
How they manage themselves and others. You really can't look, Owen, at the technology in a vacuum. So those three sort of forces combining, I find that causes a lot of problems and also creates a lot of opportunities and some pretty neat things as well.
Okay, and so you just basically help people to understand technology, and also from the management side, that being as the CEOs are trying to figure out, okay, what tools to integrate in their business, really helping them to dive in and understand what they need to do. And I'm curious though, is why did you feel there was a need to write this book?
Well, small businesses, Owen, as you probably know, typically have struggled implementing newer technologies. And with cloud computing and software as a service and some of the other technologies I mentioned in the book, no longer do you have to be an IBM or an Accenture. You don't need millions of dollars to have some very powerful and user-friendly technologies. And I didn't see a book out there that told a bunch of stories of different businesses that were using technologies in really interesting ways. So I figured, why not?
Yeah, and the reason why I felt like I needed to have you on my blog is because the blog, what we do here is really educate entrepreneurs about how to be really become virtual and make use of cloud-based technology and tools out there, so that you don't have to do business the old way. The idea of making use of virtual assistants and all that. And I feel this book was just right for the community, and that's why I wanted you to come on the show. And I think you established the fact that there was there was a missing gap in terms of not having the right the book out there that had the kind of information that you want to put on the book, so that others audience can read it. But I'm curious, how exactly did you even verify that there was indeed a need for the book?
Well, that's more art than science. Plenty of books are written, and maybe mine fall into that category, or there really isn't. Something like 170,000 books come out just in this country every year.
Yeah.
And clearly they're not about completely different topics. There are, many management and technology books, many romance, many different sort of fiction books. But I would walk around my town here in Caldwell, New Jersey, and I would talk to other small business owners I had met, and they didn't understand anything. They didn't know about cloud computing or open source software. They didn't understand Facebook or Twitter or social media. So it wasn't a scientific type of process, Owen. It was more of a gut feel that other people had some major questions. And anytime you're writing a nonfiction book, you think of two questions, right? Who's going to buy the book, and what are they going to do with the information?
Yeah.
And if you have good answers, odds are someone's going to read it, and hopefully they'll like it like you did, I guess.
Definitely. And the thing too is that because we're in this whole crowd of people that understand technology and all that, we begin to think that everybody out there probably use the same terms and have the same understanding for what we know. And so I really see the point in there where you say it was really more of an art than a science, really trying to have a feel for people around you and seeing what they wanted. And in your book, you said that there are several trends out there that people should be paying attention to. And I'm curious, share with us what are those trends that you're seeing?
Well, there are a lot of different trends. Some are management, some are in the labor market, some are with technology. It sounds like you're referring to the 5 technologies in the book that I call the 5 enablers.
Yes.
5 technologies that are really letting these small businesses do some amazing things. And they are cloud computing, software as a service, free and open source software, mobility, and social technologies. Those are kind of the five that I really focused on in the book.
And is it possible for we have people listen to this that might not even know those terms that you just used? So if you could just give us quick intro as to what they are.
Absolutely, Owen. First up, cloud computing is essentially the ability to get to your data and your apps anywhere. You don't have to be chained to your computer. The second one, software as a service, as you know, is kind of a cousin of cloud computing. So think Salesforce.com or Workday. You basically pay by the transaction. You rent the software. You date before you have to get married. The third one is free and open source software, and there are so many of them. Open Office is a good alternative to Microsoft Office. WordPress is a free content management system, and there are a ton of those. So no longer do you have to pay for all the software. There are plenty of open source software projects out there. The fourth one is mobility, and apps have exploded. Smartphones, iPads, tablet computers. You no longer have to be at a computer to be productive. I wouldn't want to read a book on an iPhone, but you can. Some people do. And there's so many different applications. It's just ridiculous and scary. I actually just finished reading a book called The Third Screen by a guy named Chuck Martin, and this guy is a mobile expert, and the things that they'll do in the future with money will blow your mind. And the last one, of course, is social technologies, social media and social networks, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, ways to reach people like the way that we connected. So I think we connected on Twitter. Right.
I'd actually listened to an interview you did with Chris Ducker, and I liked the concept. I was like, let me get this guy on my blog because this is right where, what my audience should be listening to.
Yeah, funny looking guy, and I say that because Chris and I look very much the same. So.
Yeah, and so the thing is, I understand that this is the rising trends, and understand the 5 enablers as you mentioned, but there's also a thing of being able to to change one's mindset to actually cultivate that whole the idea of the new small. And so there's several challenges I figure that a lot of entrepreneurs will have with this, and so. What can you share in regards to helping entrepreneurs get past that mind block or challenge that they have with moving forward with this idea of becoming the new small?
Sure. And the new small to me is a mentality. It isn't just about using 5 technologies, right?
Yeah.
Because remember, the technologies are a means to an end. You don't go with a cloud provider or use social media for the sake of using social media. You use cloud computing, for example, because it reduces your cost and it provides you access to your information no matter where you are. You use free and open source software because you can save money compared to maybe some proprietary or closed source software. So it isn't just about implementing technology. It's really not a technology book from my perspective. It's a management book about technology. Again, it gets to that intersection that you talked about at the beginning of our chat today. It's about not being afraid to make a mistake, not having sort of a highly politicized environment. It's about throwing stuff against the wall and see if it's going to stick. It really is about embracing risk and failure. And at a core level, Owen, it's about work not having to suck. You can like what you do. Everyone has a bad day or a bad boss or a bad client, and I'm no exception to that rule. But call me an idealist, but I'm a big believer that people should, in general, like what they do. Now, some people don't look at work that way. They just look at it as a paycheck, and that's fine. I'm not judgmental, but I personally do better in jobs when with clients, and they like me and I like them, and if there's a problem, we solve it together, as opposed to very sort of, as I said, politicized environment. Well, this is your fault. No, it's your fault. My first book, Why New Systems Fail, is very much about those kinds of organizations, and I'm very proud of my first book, but I would much rather spend time with the new small than with companies that screw up their IT projects.
And what do you say to people who feel that they have the need to, get employees, go large, and the whole old way of doing things, because that's probably what they were used to in terms of been preached about. You start out, you build a large team and all that. What do you say about that? Did you hear me?
Well, yes, it was breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I heard you.
Okay.
the central premise of the book is that it's better to be small. Small companies can act big a lot easier than big companies can act small. Certainly with cloud computing or software as a service, you can get more resources. You don't have to buy, as you did 10 or 15 years ago, a very expensive application. You don't have to hire a team of developers. Things like overseas development and outsourcing and those types of things have really evolved. So you can still get big, but the key is, and this isn't just me talking, I mean, companies like Google are obsessed with staying small. I was reading an interview from a few months ago with Larry Page. Actually, it was from this book, In the Plex, which just came out by Stephen Levy. And in the book, the guy had access to Larry and Sergey and Eric Schmidt. And Google is obsessed with trying to remain a small company, even though it has, $30 billion or something in profits. So this notion of keeping, if you're big, you can do certain things, right? That hasn't changed. But when you're big, you also have big problems. So how do you keep staying small and nimble and agile without all the baggage associated with being a big company? So that's in part what the book's about, and I think what a lot of the case studies mention too. A lot of the people who started these companies profiled in the book used to work in big corporate environments, and they specifically started their companies because they were finished with that kind of mentality. So I have a lot of admiration for the people who started these companies. It takes a lot of courage to start a small business, but I would argue that it's never been easier. The technology has evolved so much now. I mean, you can have a very professional site for, $1,500. That wasn't the case back in the 1990s.
Definitely. And one of the things I do is, when someone tells me a new concept, I try and see if we can back it up by, actual live examples or case study to help to make the point more concrete. So which companies out there did you maybe interview for the book, or that we can talk about so that my audience can really learn?
We can talk about them all. I profile, I have over 10 companies in the book, and a law firm, a restaurant, a dental practice, an iPad case manufacturer. I thought it was really important to profile a bunch of different companies from a bunch of different industries, because I agree with you, Owen. It can be very preachy if you just say, do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
I'd much rather show you, not tell you. And from all of these examples, at the end of the book, I kind of take a step back and present the lessons and how companies can be a part of the new small, how they can use technology better, et cetera, et cetera. But I agree with you. Books that don't provide examples bore me.
Yeah, so for let's start with the law firm, for instance, because when you think law firm, you think about always following rules that have been created, but you don't think of law firms and technology. I mean, that's just the average person.
I agree. No, I was very surprised when I got to talking to Ben Schold of Schold Barthel, the company that I profile, because he's a technologist who happens to be a lawyer. So they were able to reduce their IT costs by 75% by putting all their data and their apps in the cloud. And they only did that after they had some problems. They had to ask themselves, are we in the law business or are we in the IT business? And they decided that if they were in the IT business, they weren't very good, so they got out. And again, cloud computing lets you do that. What companies used to produce their own electricity, hundreds of years ago. They no longer, I shouldn't say hundreds, but more than 100 years ago. Now they don't do that. They realize that it makes sense for there to be a power company, and they'll just buy the power from them. The same thing is happening with computing power, and if you read books like The Big Switch by Nick Carr, he basically makes the same point.
And the company you said that does the iPad case, what exactly did they do in regards to being the new small, I guess?
Oh, Dodo Case is great. They had over, when I talked to them, they had crossed $1 million in revenue with only 4 employees.
Wow.
They were really killing it. I mean, they were great. They're great with social media, a heavy Twitter and Facebook presence. They use software as a service. They use a platform called Shopify, which lets them set up very powerful e-commerce, and they handle fulfillment. Great. I mean, the stuff they can do, they were able to handle thousands of orders with 4 people. You can't do that if you don't use technology well.
And what I'm getting from what you've been saying so far is that, in terms of people, you're not limited to just your local area. I mean, the world is your platform. You can go out there and find people. Maybe it could be on a one-time project, or it can be on a recurring basis. But you can go out there and find people affordably. And then when it comes to tools to actually help you automate the work, there are a lot of tools out there that you can use and integrate with your business. But then it becomes a thing of that whole shiny red ball syndrome, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Where it's, there's so many good gadgets out there. How do you break it down to what really you should be using for your business?
Right. It's tough. I mean, there's no one right technology. Certainly, there are advantages and disadvantages to using Microsoft products versus not. And one of the companies that I profile in the book, NSI Partners, used all Microsoft technologies. And to me, it's an important case study in the book because a lot of companies out there don't necessarily associate Microsoft with small business, but they do have very strong small business offerings. And I thought that it was important not just to showcase, Owen, a bunch of different companies in terms of the types of business, but the different technologies. Some companies only use Microsoft. Then there's a company in the book, Red 7, and they're all open source. They don't pay for anything because they have the technical skill. They can build whatever they want. They just have that background. A law firm doesn't. So, I mean, that's one of the lessons of the book. There is no one right technology across the board, but for a business, there may be the right technology at a given time. But as you know, that can change as well. So I really wanted to write a book that demystified a lot of the different assumptions people had about technologies and the myths. Because things happen so quickly these days, I thought that it was important to provide a framework so people could understand all that's going on. Because if you try to consume it all through blogs and tweets, it's very easy to get distracted. I think that there's still a lot of value in reading a 260 or 70-page book and getting the message that the author wants you to get without having to pull all of it in from all these different sources. Let me do that, and you can just read the book.
Definitely. And I guess what I was trying to get at with that previous question was really, with all these different things that are out there, even when you start making use of some of them, how exactly can one quantify that you're getting the results you want, so that you know what to stick with and what to avoid? I guess that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, I think again it's part art and part science. For example, in the book I address the ROI of social media, and a lot of social media skeptics say, well, you shouldn't use social media because you can't quantify the benefits. And I say, okay, fine. Tell me about the ROI specifically of your last marketing campaign, whether you did print or digital or mail or something like that. And they don't know. And if you go back to the 1950s, one of my favorite sayings is, I think, from a Procter & Gamble executive who said, I'd love to cut half of my ad budget. I just don't know which half works. The same thing applies with, I think, social media. You can always look for reasons not to do something. I think of Jake's lies, damn lies, and statistics. So I can prove whatever I want with data. But if you know that social media, because you're using it well and you're attracting followers and you're reaching people and people are buzzing about you and you're not spending any money on marketing and you're still supporting your business like Chef Tony did, who runs a restaurant down in Maryland, well, to me that indicates that it can work. There's no secret sauce. The reason that Chef Tony is successful on social media is that he spends a lot of time on it. It's not like you write the one blog post or send the one tweet or post the one YouTube video. I mean, and you as well. I mean, I spend hundreds of hours.
I can hear you. We're having a Skype malfunction. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, we're back. So you were saying, what exactly did Chef Tony do? Because that was one of the things I wanted to ask. I just skipped my mind. But what did he do in regards to social media?
He pretty much tweets and blogs and posts videos and interacts with people. He listens. He does a lot of different things and then brings people into the store. So he might use a service like Open Table to send a text message to people who volunteered to receive them. Hey, free Martini Friday. Okay, so they come in and they get a free martini and redeem the coupon. He'll use Foursquare. He'll use mobility and social together. So there are all sorts of different combinations. I mean, this book could have been 500 pages. I could have kept writing, but these days people don't really read 500-page books. So there may be another one down the road with these types of companies because it just changes so quickly. And I profile 11 companies in the book. It easily could have been 25.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, this book is just right where my, right with the whole idea of what this blog is about. Virtual CEOs, being mobile, being able to run your business with the tools available out there and all that. I just thank you for being on the show. And before I let you go, I mean, I always want to find out from, entrepreneurs, when you talk about a topic like this, how, what exactly are those few steps that, someone who's been listening to the interview up to this point, what can they do to get started with, implementing the ideas from the new small, I guess?
Buy the book.
That's a great question. I mean, go ahead and buy the book. That's a good
Yeah,
answer.
it's available, and you can download the first chapter on thenewsmall.com. It's available for Kindle, Nook, iPad. But I mean, they're really, I mean, I gave you some of the lessons from the book, and we touched on some of the case studies. But there are certain chapters in the book that provide a lot of, I think, tangible tips. It's not a directory. It's not a listing of every technology that you can't possibly create one because it would be outdated the day after you did it. But I do think that it provides a lot of different lessons, and it sounds like at least you liked it, and I hope that
Definitely.
it resonates with your readers as well.
And the thing is, this is that I think for my own experience too, is like when I came across the idea of outsourcing, I learned from about it from the book by what's his name now, Thomas Friedman or something like that. The world is flat. So
Yeah,
I
great,
understood
great.
that the technology, that the technology is out there. The world is my platform, but I didn't really get the message as to why should I be outsourcing until I read the 4 Hour Work Week, which helped me to articulate the purpose of this whole thing. It's really creating your lifestyle, and I guess a book like yours is really helping you to understand the purpose of why you need to be small, and so that once you understand the why, the what and how becomes a lot easier, I guess.
I mean, it's not an anti-big book. I mean, I have nothing against big companies, but I'm a small company guy. I've worked at big companies. I don't like a lot of arbitrary policies and procedures. I don't like politics. I like sitting down with somebody and getting something done. And I've always been that way. So it's been great connecting with the people in the book. But then since the book has come out, people like you and I probably met a bunch of people at conferences and video Skype and over Twitter and blogs and phone calls. So it's really opened up some doors for me, and I'm glad that you liked it, and I really appreciate your having me on, Owen.
Thank you very much, Phil. How best can anyone listening to this get a hold of you?
thenewsmall.com or philsimonsystems.com. I'm Phil Simon at Twitter.
Thank you very much for doing the interview. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Owen.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And before you go, I want you to do me a favor. I'm trying to build my community of entrepreneurs who find my content useful on Facebook so we can engage, have discussions live right there on Facebook. And to get to my page on Facebook, you go to www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And again, it's www.com. What am I saying? No, it's www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And when you get there, what you're going to do is look for a button that says like, and you click on that button, and then basically you become a fan of the page. It's that simple. You don't even have to leave me your email. Just click on the button that says like. And again, the page to go to is www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And that stands for HYVAssistant. Real easy. I look forward to seeing you on Facebook. Have a great day.